All right. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to talk about wills, if you didn't get that. Wills and trusts and other stuff. I'm Rob. This is Steve. We
What
Bob.
up?
Weave. We're Spotify, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the notification button so you know what's going on. I think we're on episode. This might be number 21. I haven't counted specifically, but this might be our luckiest episode yet.
Heck yeah. Let's go.
Let's check in. How are you feeling, Steve? How's your body? How's your mind? Are you safe? Are you good?
Every time somebody asks me that, I always think of that movie quote, and I don't even know what movie it's from, but it's Will Ferrell, and he's like, I'm a little tired, kind of sad, kind of a little bit chummy. You know what I'm talking about?
I can see him saying it. I don't think
Yeah.
it's from a movie though. I think it's just like a skit that he did. Might have
Maybe,
been like
maybe a
SNL.
little sweaty, He says something weird like that.
Are you feeling
Oh, man.
demure?
What's that?
Are you feeling demure?
The
Very
mirror,
mindful.
yeah. What a weird word to say. It's kind of like, some people say they don't like saying the word moist. That demure word, I don't know. It's kind of cringe.
But Nicole and I came up with the best fantasy football team based off demure. So, what's the saying is like very thoughtful, very mindful, very demure. It's what everyone says. And
Yeah.
so she realized, she's like, how do I have that as my fantasy football team name? Because she's in a girls league, and so I was trying to find out, okay, how do we do? She's like, how do this? Very very mindful, very DeAndre. No, and I was like, oh, you have Jameer Gibbs on your lineup. Very mindful, very Jameer, and so that's her team name.
That's hilarious.
I think that one might be better than Haktua
Yeah.
as a team name.
But I don't know what it is. Like, there was so many Haktua memes there for a while, like little video, like almost like vines. But this one keeps popping up, and every time I just want to send it to everybody. Every time it pops up in my reels, is that one where it's like, do you know the Muffin Man? And he just goes, Haktua. It's on Lord Farquaad. The freaking best.
You're a monster. You have my gumdrop buttons. That's great. I haven't seen that one. You got to send it to me.
Oh, really, dude? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh! I swear I've sent it like 5 times. Um, I'm one of those people that's like twice a day. I'm on either in the bathroom or I don't know, waiting in a waiting room, waiting, and I'll send you like 10 in a row, and then I'm just like off Instagram for 12 hours. So I know I annoy you with that. Next time I see that, I'm gonna make sure I send it to you because it is classic.
Sounds good. Well,
Might even be
anywho,
worth. Oh, go ahead, man.
I was gonna get into it. Are you ready for it or not?
Yes, and I have one unpopular opinion I want to share at the end that I just thought of.
Is it pertaining to the topics we're currently talking about?
Kind of.
Then you should do it now.
Oh, okay. Well, we were talking about on the bathroom, and
On the
uh,
throne.
I yes, I have an unpopular opinion, bro. I think that every new house, whether it's being renovated or new build, I think every new house that's more than 1 or 2 bedrooms, I think it should have a urinal in it. Like somewhere in the center of the house, preferably like convenient to reach from the garage. And it doesn't need to be in the bathroom even. It could be in a room that's like kind of unbecoming, like you don't like notice it right away, but there's just like a little door and just a little tiny room with a urinal. I think every house should have that.
All right. Well, I've got another unpopular opinion. I don't like urinals. I don't like
What?
I don't like standing to pee because I always splash.
Well,
Is there
that's
a way?
that's what I like about the urinal is
Is
because
it
like
you get a little pee on your pants?
I don't pee on my pants from urinals, but I definitely pee like onto the seat if I'm sitting on the toilet to pee and I stand up, pee gets on the seat. Or if I stand up and put the seat up and I pee, the distance is so far and gravity increases the velocity of the stream. And when it hits the water, it's just like a fountain constantly splashing up and out. So I get it on my knees. It gets on the fucking floor. Sorry. It gets on the bowl itself, like on the rim, and you got to wipe it all off. It's like, it's unsanitary. But like a waist height to floor urinal, like the old style
Okay,
from,
here we go. So your rating is, well, so it's urinal, sit to pee, stand to pee. Is that right?
yes, that would be my order of preference.
So I'm sit to pee, urinal, stand to pee.
Okay.
Because I still feel like it's not as obvious and the droplets are not as large on a urinal, but they're still there.
So the urinals that are like typically out there, yes, I agree. Where you're peeing on the cake, the urinal cake, and it's like horizontal, like that pink thing, that splashes. But like Target sometimes has them, Costco always has them, and then like the urinals that used to be in schools when I was in elementary school, that would go like, when I was that height, they were like at my face all the way to the floor. So you could aim down so that the rebound, it didn't like bounce off. It would
So you hit the back wall.
and it would like go in step with the wall. It would just like the stream would join the wall. Yeah, there was no like bouncing because it was like, it wasn't like a 90 degree. It was like they came to.
Oh yeah, because they had the water dripping down the back too, so it wouldn't splash on it.
Right. So yeah, I just saw a video.
I agree. If we could get those in houses,
yeah.
I'm on board.
Yeah, it's got to go to it's got to go all the way down. It can't be one of those bowl shaped ones that come out, because that is like the same problem.
Don't they do in China where they just have like a little hole in the floor?
I think that's like Thailand. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Got to squat over it.
One of those places I've never been to.
Yeah. The idea of that is you squat over it, and it's like the most healthy way to
full
poop.
squat, which is why we now have the squatty potty.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are great. Squatty potties all over the house. They definitely help.
I'm gonna share this real quick because I know everyone's gonna be really interested in this.
I'm gonna let Nova out the door while you're doing that.
But yeah, this style urinal right here, where it goes all the way to the floor.
That's the one, huh?
Yep. This one right here. So, this is the exact thing, the exact representation of what I'd recommend. Tile floor, tile, what's this called? Baseboard, easy to mop, just even get rid of this.
Down.
Yeah, it's just a tiny room that isn't super noticeable. You only really notice the room if someone points it out to you. It's not like a focal point of the house.
You don't even need it to be a room. It's just like a little alley.
Yeah, no, like a 3x3 room. You open the door, you step in, and you're at the urinal. You pee, and you can just flush on your way out the door. So you can, hit the flush button and close the door real quick. Like, this isn't like a rec room. It's like a do your business in GTFO room.
No sink either, huh?
No. So I would think you would plan it like effectively. Like I said, like kind of near the garage, but also like near the center of the house. So like even if you're watching a movie in the living room, it's only a few more steps past the bathroom for a guy to go to that. And then you've got a sink, like a utility sink in the mud room or something, or like there's a laundry room right next door that has like a sink in it for like washing, hand washing clothes or something. So you can soap and wash your hands.
Not the sink inside the urinal room.
Right. It's just for peeing. And then you just have to strategically, you touch the door like this or whatever to get out. Like, you just don't touch anything till you go to the other room.
You really need a door on it, because if you do it correctly, your butt shouldn't even be showing. Your willy should be tucked in by the time you turn around.
You could just tuck it around the little corner, but maybe there'd be some noise issues, with the flush. And it's like, wait, what? Did you just flush something with an open door?
What if you do it like Disneyland, where you have like a fake wall and you put it around the fake wall and you go do your thing and you come back out?
That all perfectly acceptable options. But it just makes sense, like it's like functionality wise, it's adding an extra toilet to the house, and you get the other toilets less dirty, and you don't have to like every time I pee at home, I have to do some form of like post pee wipe down. of something. That's just all guys. It's a fact of life for dudes. Unless you're like an expert sit down peer, like you're always going to get a drop on something.
I would say I'm an A- sit down peer.
Yeah. So that's what, 98%. So like twice a week, you're going to, oh man, you got to touch this thing,
Yeah. Got to drip.
and the unspoken truth of this too that we haven't talked about is, oh my God, the fights this would prevent. Who left the seat up? You'd never put the seat up because you'd always go pee there. Or you'd sit to pee if you're in your bedroom and you wake up in the middle of the night, you just go sit to pee. I don't need to go downstairs to the urinal. It just makes all these issues go away.
You're very passionate about this.
Bro, I fought hard to get a urinal when we did this addition at our house, but I didn't win that one.
Okay. Well,
next time.
Sorry to hear that.
Next time.
All right. I'm glad we got
after
that.
I regularly scheduled programming. Hot take.
All right. So we were going to talk about wills, trusts, powers of attorney. So I've been learning a lot about this stuff. I've been helping my dad's business, and that's the thing that we're presenting to clients is how to do these different types of things. And it's really like legacy planning or estate planning. And so it's something that's very widely misunderstood about what you have to do. And so I'm going to just say some information and see if it resonates. So there's the big five is what they call it. I'll see if I can remember all of them. There's a financial power of attorney, a healthcare power of attorney, a will, a trust, and then I think they like a deed that you put your house in trust. I think that's the fifth one. So the financial power of attorney makes sure that if you were to pass away, whoever you designate as your financial power of attorney has access to all of your finances. And this piece of paper gives them that access. So they can go, take care of your bank accounts, take care of your savings, your 401k, your stocks, whatever you have available, they can go do that. If you don't have that set up, it goes to probate. Probate is not the worst thing in the world, but it's pretty close to it. Here's an example. My dad's mother passed away. His brother is a big shot lawyer in Newport. He knew all about the stuff, knew how to get it done, knew what to do. He was a trustee in the trust to make sure that he's the one who could go do all the stuff, had all the assets protected under the trust. All the inheritance got paid out. I think it was within a month, maybe 2 months. And my dad's wife, her mom passed away unexpectedly. She didn't have any of this stuff set up. So she had a house in her personal name. She had some retirement accounts, had some savings accounts, all that stuff. Their heirs did not get paid out for almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
And so
pretty typical.
The number one thing is the time. But also, if there was an estranged sibling that, really didn't partake in family stuff, but they were still part of the family, they might now get thrown into a split of the inheritance because the state has a probate process written in. And so whatever that process is what is going to happen. You can't make modifications to it. It's like, oh, this person hasn't been around for 20 years. They can't get anything. You can't put anything in place to say that if you're going with the state's probate. So that's why you want these things. And the way to protect yourself is these the big five. So financial power of attorney.
Wait, before we go further.
Yes.
I want to interject and give another example that that most people who have their house in their name as they age don't realize too. So when let's say grandma, right? A grandma has the house in her name. She's getting Social Security checks every month, right? She goes to the hospital and hospice and she dies. There's a death certificate that the hospital reports to the Social Security department. So as soon as they get that, within a week, like Social Security payments stop. Now let's say grandma doesn't own her house outright. She has $1,000 a month mortgage. Well, she doesn't have an estate set up. So her name still has to pay her mortgage payment every month. So that's a burden that goes on the family. Now let's say that she did have it set up in a trust and had other investments. The trust would be able to, during probate, sell one. Yes. If the trust doesn't have cash to make the payments, the executor could decide to sell one of the assets to then have money to pay for the payments of the other things, right?
Or they could decide to sell the house right away.
Right. to avoid being foreclosed on. So I saw a ton of times this happen. Grandma dies and the house is getting foreclosed on because the kids are going through probate and can't, um, uh, get
Get it done fast
it
enough.
figured
Yeah.
out. Now, probate can prevent foreclosures, but it gets really complicated and ugly, and you still get in arrears, and it's still a lot of problems and a lot of fees and late charges and all that stuff. So it's still an ugly thing. Even if probate does prevent a foreclosure, it's still not pretty and not advantageous to the family, to the the surviving family.
All
Okay,
right.
sorry. So go on the
I think
solution.
a good example is something I talked about with a client just yesterday, is that a lot of people think that instead of doing a trust, just put your kids on the house, on the title of the house. And so one of the issues with that is that when you do that, you miss out. There's a step up in basis or an exemption for inheritance when you do that. And so it's no longer inheritance because they currently own it. So they're going to have to pay taxes just like a regular asset on that. But if you pass it to someone through an inheritance, there's a lot of tax benefits in doing that. So if you just have your kid on title, they miss out on a lot of tax benefits that other Americans are getting because it's done through the exemption tax for inheritance. Okay,
Right.
so we're talking about powers of attorney because these are the easiest ones. The financial one, that's the one that you have somebody else has access to all of your assets, your financial stuff. The biggest trick is you need to make sure you 100% trust that person because they actually have financial power to do these things the day that you sign it. And so they can do it before you pass away. They can go and liquidate your bank account. So don't do it with someone that might go crazy on you. Do it with someone you're going to trust for the entirety of your life. And so the next one of that is the healthcare power of attorney, and that's if you become incapacitated, that you trust this person to make your health decisions. And you can also, of course, write in there the medical directive. If I'm unresponsive, not going to come out of a coma, what do you want them to do? And you can make that decision and not decide if you want to have your family keep you alive for as long as possible or just pull the plug, don't feed me, that kind of stuff. So those are two most important things with the powers of attorney. The next one is the trust. So a trust is a vehicle to hold assets. And so if you don't put something in the trust, it is not controlled by the trust. So you can't say my house is in the trust, but then the deed to your house is in your personal name. That house is not in the trust. It's the same thing with all of your other assets, your cars, all this stuff. So if you've got a big savings account, retirement account, you need to have that asset listed as in your name and in the trust or only in the trust for it to actually be controlled by the trust. And the biggest thing that I think that the easiest thing to learn about in trust is what a thing called a trustee. A trustee is a person who controls the trust, and specifically, you can be your own trustee while you're alive. If it's a revocable trust, meaning revocable means you can change it. Irrevocable, you cannot change it. And so you designate a trustee, someone who can control these things after you pass, and that person will decide is responsible for handling things inside the trust. But if I make you my trustee, but I don't tell you what I want to do with it, I'm just trusting you for you to make your best judgment on it. And that's where the will comes in. So the will, it tells people what to do with all this stuff, and so you have to have a will and a trust together. So trust owns things. The will tells people what to do with things. And I know some people who only have wills, and that helps, but it doesn't necessarily protect them against probate because sometimes if there's a disagreement, it will still go through probate. And also, disclaimer, I didn't say this earlier, of course, neither of us are estate planning attorneys. We've learned this from other professionals. I do work in finance, but mostly mortgages. That has nothing to do with the stuff. I've just learned about it. We're sharing it. There, said it. But so a will is going to tell people what they should do, and you can pretty much put whatever you want in a will. Like you can say, chop my house into 4 pieces and give it to each of my 4 kids. You can say that, and they can do it. Or you can say, I don't want my daughter Susan to have anything, or I want my daughter Susan to have this, but her husband's not allowed to access any of it. And you can, it's really that flexible. There's definitely standardized templates on what things you should include in there. But if you want a special note, like my Michael Jackson signed picture goes to my ex's brother, like you can have that be whatever you want. And I think a lot of people don't do this and they end up in probate and it just becomes very painful for the family. And so the second biggest issue about, just the timing of everything is to promote family harmony. And so you want to make sure that your heirs after you're gone agree with each other and don't get these giant fights, because they can get really ugly when you're talking about like family heirlooms. And maybe if you die too early and you've got $1 million in a bank account, your kids might get in some pretty nasty fights about that. So this prevents all those things. All right. Any questions, what do you have to say about this?
No, this is great. My main question too is we learned a lot about this in real estate agent school in the first module. There's 2 modules. But I was just curious, are they teaching you this stuff in like and more in a mortgage, like your loan officer type ongoing training, or where are you finding out about this through your wealth management side?
Yeah, so I'm helping my dad with his business. He's Tennyson Wealth Management. He's a financial advisor. He's a CFP. He's not an estate planning attorney, but we have programs available to us to help people draw powers of attorney, wills, and trusts. And so, obviously, in order to help people do that, we need to have a baseline knowledge of what it all is. We send it through the system. It goes to an attorney. They sign off on it. We didn't do anything that we're not supposed to do, and people can get wills and trusts.
What is the price range of setting something like that up, setting a trust up with, let's say your typical person who's controlling like, just over $1 million in value of real estate, not necessarily equity, but value.
Yeah. So I've seen these prices like very widely, vary over the country. So I've talked to people in Florida, Indiana, South Carolina, and California who have all gotten this done. I heard from someone in Indiana they can get this done for $300. I've heard someone in South Carolina they can get it done for $1,000. I've heard in California it's $4,000 or $5,000. The program that we're working with, it's about $1,500 to get everything done: the powers of attorneys, the wills, the trust, and put your house into your trust. $1,500.
And that's a simple quit claim deed, right? To do that.
Right, exactly. But you got to create the trust first.
Exactly. So what are the ramifications or risks of quit claiming the house into the name of the trust if the mortgage is under your personal name?
As far as I know, there's not any, as long as you're the primary person on the trust, like it is your trust. If you put it into a trust that's owned by 6 different people or something like that, there could be some issues, but you should be totally fine. I think the more common question is people say, oh, well, what my property, maybe it's not a big question for people outside of California, because in California, property taxes are only reassessed upon a transfer of property. So technically, if you move your property from your personal name to a business, that's a transfer of property. Your property taxes will be reassessed and raised. But for trusts, it's a different type of deed, and so it does not get reassessed when you go put your property into a trust. And what a lot of people do is they'll, instead of just moving everything directly into the trust, they'll add the trust onto title, so it'll be like Rob Tennyson and the Tennyson Family Trust.
Oh, okay. So that they're both on it. Yeah. Right. Okay, that makes sense, because like we Elena and I bought 2 houses at the same time, and then after closing on them, one was in my name, one was in hers on the mortgage, but then we quit claimed them into both names. So we didn't, trigger a due on sale or anything like that, because the original person was still on it. It just had a secondary name on title. So that's kind of comparable, as the second person in this case is really just an entity, a trust. So
I think that the issue would be is if you remove the mortgagee from the title of the property, that would be where they would have problems. So if you took yourself off and only put it in the trust, then there might be an issue. But also, like, it is very few and far between where a mortgage company is going to come after you if you're still making your payments. Not to say that you're in the right for doing it. It's just that they don't have an incentive to come after you if you're still making the payments.
Yeah. I've also heard of people like signing all this paperwork and signing the quit claim deed, but then just not recording it. So they just have the trust hang on to that document in a safe place, usually with the legal team who set it up.
So, I mean, that technically works, but I mean, what if that safe is destroyed? What if it's a house fire and that trust is no longer there and they don't even know that you had one?
The quit claim, yeah.
Yeah, it might be years and years and years before somebody finds out you actually did have the property in a trust. And so if it's not recorded with the county, I mean, in most people's eyes, it's not done.
Okay.
It's technically done, but it's not really.
And then lastly, I've heard, my last question is that I can think of now is I've heard too that having the assets in a trust protects you even more from liability. Like in terms of, my business got sued and now they're going after my personal house, right? Like it basically makes it untouchable somehow. Are you able to expound on that?
I mean, it's that's definitely more of a lawyer question, but it does provide some distance. It's not 100% all the time because if it's in a revocable trust, it can be changed, and you're moving money in and out of the trust all the time. That's basically your personal property. But if it's an irrevocable trust where basically you only put money into it and that money only goes away or starts moving after your passing, that's not the same entity as you. And so there's a very strong argument that if you have money inside of an irrevocable trust and it's not something you use for personal expenses, that is not your money. And so if you get in legal trouble, that trust would be okay.
Nice. Cool. Well, yeah, I personally stopped putting money in my son's 529, right? The college savings account. And I just pulled it all out and have put it into investments. And, um, uh, it was all money I was putting in there when I had a W-2 job and, several $1,000s that, I knew I wanted to invest, turn that into bigger money, and then create a trust specifically for him that, rather than being limited to college savings, is, money that's put aside to be given to him, as approved by my dad, um, for business ventures or going to college, or buying property at a university to then house hack, that kind of stuff. Um, and yeah, I like that idea, the flexibility of it so much more than just getting pigeonholed in like a 529 or an IRA. I know
I
you can
think
do a lot with an IRA,
the,
but
the more I'm
yeah,
dealing with my dad's clients, and the more I'm kind of realizing people are just outrageously conservative. And so most people don't think like that, where it's like, oh, I'll put it in the stock market. It could go up at 8 or 9%. But like most people are concerned, oh, it could go down by 30% tomorrow. And so that's why these other very conservative things exist, like annuities, which to me seem like the craziest thing on the planet, where it's like put $100,000 into this account, and then 10 years from now, I could take $1,000 a month for the rest of my life. That seems like so conservative. But people are just so scared of their money basically disappearing, but through bad investments, that they don't want to do those things. And so most people are like, okay, where can I put my money where no one can touch it? And if it goes up a little bit, okay, that's fine. But I want zero chance of it going down. And that's
yeah,
how most people think about a lot of
loss
their money.
aversion.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not like that at all. I'm like, okay, if you can give me an opportunity to go up by 20% and I have a loss cap on 5%, yeah, I'm 100% it. Let's do that. But most people are not like that. They're like, I don't care if I get a bunch of money in return, just make sure it doesn't go away.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I mean, we're at a point in our life where we probably both feel the same way. I wish we'd started this entrepreneurial stuff when we were 22,
Right.
because we'd be, freaking retired right now. Um, but yeah, I mean, higher risk at the front end when you can stomach it and have less to lose, right? But yeah, something like 95% of people or whatever, that I saw this somewhere, but most people make decisions based on, uh, the chances of how much they'll lose, right? Rather than what the benefit could be. So that loss aversion is a way bigger motivator than possibility of gain.
Yeah. And in my mind, it's like, okay, would I survive if I didn't have this money? Then if yes, then I can do this investment. But other people are like, would my lifestyle change if I didn't have this money? Then they wouldn't do it. So I mean, it's really a risk tolerance, which is definitely something that most people do before they come in for an appointment with a financial advisor. Is they should, okay, what is your risk tolerance, and would you be okay if this happened, and that kind of stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, most people are ridiculously conservative.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. One more thing I wanted to mention before we got off this. We talked about legacy planning, like passing on income to your heirs. And you know about this. You're legally allowed to give your heir $18,000 a year as a gift. And not only
Mhm.
could you do that, if you were married, your spouse could do that. And if your heir is married, you could both do that to their spouse. So you could give them tax free that much money every year. Just like people do it very often for like a house, you could just do it. Here's some gift money. And so that's a good way to kind of pass on uh, money and not have it be taxed as if you're like, paying them as an employee.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. What's the new levels for how much you can pay a kid to work for you now, like your own kid?
I don't know that number, but there definitely is something where it's like you can hire. I mean, you could hire a baby and say, oh, they're here for modeling and take pictures of them every day and pay your
Mhm.
kid $1,000 a month. I think it might be like $30,000 a year.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, we're at the point where I'm going to start looking at that because we just opened Rafi's first checking account, and it's like, okay, cool, he's got that now, so I can start paying him, direct deposit, and it's tax free for both of us. And then he can buy all his own stuff. He can pay for a jujitsu class. He can pay for his clothes, his new shoes, his whatever he wants. Stuff that I would normally buy him, he could pay for it with his debit card. So we're going to try to start him on that pretty early so that he learns how to, needs versus wants, and being able to make sure he's getting his needs taken care of first, and then, okay, how much do I have left over for my wants, and what is a good decision to buy or not.
yeah,
But yeah,
both you and his mom could just straight up give him $18,000 a year. Yep.
yeah. I mean, she'd have to have an LLC too, right?
No, you could do it personally.
Really, just pay them.
It's gift money. Like my dad gave me money for my down payment.
Oh,
He could give me gift money. Yeah,
yeah,
you could do that.
tax free gift money. But I'm talking about more than gift. I'm talking about tax free earned income
Right.
from your
But
business.
the first 18,000, like you can do for
Mhm.
free,
Yeah.
freebies.
Yep. Definitely want to do that because otherwise I'd have to pay myself that 9,000. I'd pay taxes on it, and then
Yeah.
I'd go buy his stuff. So I'm really working with, if it's 9,000 that I pay him, I'm really working with, or that I'm taking out to pay for his stuff. It's really 11,000 of my earned income, right? But if I just have my company pay him, then yeah, there's no taxes paid on any of that.
Right.
So yeah, this is interesting stuff, man. I feel like we should spend more time like deep diving into like with sharing screen, like how these documents look and what like kind of what they're actually saying.
Yeah. I
How to
mean,
read
it'd be
it.
good to get like an estate planning attorney on here that's got a similar mindset.
Yeah. Oh,
You find,
absolutely.
you find one, let me know. Maybe there's somebody on Bigger Pockets. I bet there is.
Oh, there's got to be. Cool,
All right,
man.
brother. I think that's going to be a sode for today.
Good sode.
That's a pod. Started with urinals, ended with estate planning.
Yeah, the natural progression of things. Guys, but
We evolved through many different phases of humankind in this one episode.
hey, it's just boy talk. Just boy talk.
Yeah. All right. Love you, Mom.
Love you, Miss T. See you guys later, dude.